Hi, everybody. It's Nancy O'Neill. Thank you for joining us tonight for tonight's podcast. We're going to go ahead and get right into the podcast. This is the reopening of Michigan post COVID-19. It aired last year, around last July. So let's go ahead and get it started.
Detroit Business Hub Group Director Nancy O'Neill works with her team of experts. Listen to conversations with business professionals to discover the latest business innovations, insights, and trends. Find out what's hot and what's not in today's business market.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's podcast, The State of Small Business Post COVID-19. We're actually, before we start our podcast, we're going to start out with our membership video. So please enjoy. We'll get started with that first. Hi, I'm Nancy O'Neill, the director of the Detroit Business Hub Group. We were recently featured in Fortune and Entrepreneur magazine. I started DBHG to help real estate and insurance agents compete in today's competitive marketplace. As a former real estate and insurance agent, I did not have a mentor myself who I was accountable to. As a member of DBHG, we network, mentor, and train sales professionals to be competitive in today's marketplace. Our certification and accreditation helps you to level up.
One of the big reasons we became part of this was to be around other people that are involved with the same kind of business we're in, which is real estate. And we don't want people to go through some of the things you went through as far as trying to find financing. We're trying to give those resources to people so they know where to go to get that information, to get those lenders and contact information. It's not just finance, but also, like you said, mentorship involved in, anything from finding your appraiser to finding your commercial real estate agent.
I believe with the mentorship program, you can really catapult yourself into a long-term successful career as an insurance agent or real estate agent. As a DBHG member, you receive access to experienced business coaches in your industry and coaching sessions, access to capital, access to DBHG mastermind coaching sessions, access to DBHG podcasts, access to webinars, in-person seminars and workshops, access to our DBHG certification and accreditation programs, and networking opportunities with like-minded professionals in your industry.
There were a lot of things that we learned along the way, and it was a great tool for us to come here. And I think it's beneficial for the people here that don't know about how to go about purchasing and all the resources that are out there to get that information from someone like me that can make their journey easier for them, that they don't have to reinvent the wheel.
When I was in real estate, I actually signed up for a mentorship program. There's a very charismatic salesperson who got me started with the mentorship program. I found out that my mentor was not even a former real estate agent or had experience in real estate, and really didn't get a whole lot out of the experience. So my advice to new business owners is that to make your startup costs count. Startup costs can be very expensive, and this is a tangible investment that you can make into your business that's going to help your business grow.
Yes, I'm working with DBHG. We have an event coming up January 22nd, and we are launching an investment club, and I'm excited about it. I just want to give everybody an opportunity to be able to build wealth and leave a legacy to their family as well. So this would be like with the opportunities that I have in front of me, that it'll be profitable, we'll do very well, and everybody will be happy. I'm going to be telling my story, some of my strategies, and things that I did to build my real estate portfolio, and then also launching the Real Estate Investment Club.
A lot of professional networking from a real estate perspective. Today we have a commercial seminar, very informative, met a lot of different professional people in real estate, investment, a lot of investment consultants. So overall, in my last year, it's been a very positive networking experience.
Networking is the lifeline, the blood of it. This is a relationship-based business. That's the bottom line. you're only good as your name, and people is what they view you as. So,
Networking is very important. Relationships are always key with anything that you do. You find out that the recommendations of some people, that a lot of the banks use the same people. A lot of the real estate agents go to the same people, and because they know their work and they trust that they're going to be honest with their evaluations of different things. So
where like-minded people come together for one common goal, and we are heavily, focused on community service. And that's what really the organization is really roots, and what we're rooted on is actually helping the community. That's one of the big things of us getting involved with commercial development, is to try to redevelop our communities. That's what this whole thing is really all about.
Minority business owners today need mentorship, training, and networking opportunities. We provide that with DBHG. Okay, well, we are going to go ahead and get started with today's podcast, the reopening of Michigan post-COVID-19. We want to thank two of my guests who are here right now. Hopefully others will be joining us soon, Robin Barnes and John Cleare. So without further ado, I will let the two of you introduce yourselves. Robin, you can go first.
Oh, hey, Nancy. How you doing?
Hi, Robin.
Hey. Hi, John. How you doing?
I'm good.
Okay. Great. I'm Robin Barnes with actually Latitude Luxury Real Estate and also Platinum One Properties. Business has been going great for me since the reopening of June 22nd. We actually started Latitude in 2012, so I will be celebrating 10 years of Latitude Luxury Real Estate Brokerage, a boutique African-American female brokerage for 10 years next year. So I'm excited about that. We sustained COVID. We sustained all this drama. We sustained a lot. So we made it through. So I thank God for that. And, because I couldn't have done it without him, and good friends and good partners. So I definitely, like John, we do a lot together. I couldn't have done it without him, a lot of things. So, kudos to him. And but actually, I'm just blessed, and I'm glad, and I'm excited about what the future holds and brings.
Amen. Sounds great. John, go ahead.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name is John Cleare. Slogan is Clear to Close. So that's actually my real estate investment company. And I also have a brokerage, Clear Realty Solutions. Just got licensed as a broker last year. Thank you. Yep. And not stopping there, definitely got more to come. So I basically specialize in off-market and on-market deals, residential and commercial. And we're also targeting other states right now as well. So not just Michigan. So definitely looking forward to the future.
Great, John. So what other states are you looking at reopening or opening in?
So I definitely have my focus on Cali, New York, Texas, and Florida right now.
Okay, wonderful. We are actually in Louisiana. We're in New Orleans. I'm in a hotel room right now.
Okay.
So we're airing from here. Oh, wow. And we are out here having a blast. I don't know if you guys have been watching my stories on Facebook, but I've been uploading a lot of photos. But we had already scheduled the podcast before scheduling the vacation. So I was like, I'm going to get this done one way or the other.
Right.
The show must go on. And John is like, you're both DBHG members. John is like a local celebrity because he had almost 500 views of his podcast. I don't know if you know that many people watch it. I was like, your following is just huge.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's on Facebook. It'll tell you how many exact views you've had of the video, because we play the replay as well after we show the podcast too.
Okay.
So yeah, I think you're the most watched DBH video this year.
All right.
You got more hits than our membership video.
Okay. Right.
So we're gonna make you the ambassador of the DBHG ambassador.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So John, tell us how business is going. What kind of pivots you made during the pandemic? What strategy you used to get through, and what you did once the pandemic was over, or once the reopening hit. How did you pivot at that point?
Okay, so definitely one way that I pivoted is like the other brokers that I'm with. So I'm also with EXP Realty, And the beautiful thing about that is that you have a nationwide network to help you out. And we also launched like a new office, and the grand opening is actually on Friday of this week.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish you would have told us. Do you want to provide the address so the viewers can attend if they'd like to? Because we'll still be in New Orleans.
Okay, yeah, definitely. So the address is 26700 Lasser Road in Southfield, Michigan. And,
okay, so Cleare. So your real estate agency is Cleare Realty?
Yeah, so Cleare Realty Solutions. That's my brokerage.
Okay.
And, Clear to Close is, like my investment company.
I see. Can you provide the address one more time and I'll put it on the screen?
Yeah, 26700 Lasser Road.
Okay. So make sure I'm spelling lots of right. In Southfield?
Mm-hmm. And the time, I believe it starts at 5 o'clock. Let me see.
LAHSER, correct?
Uh-huh.
Okay, good. I don't want to say it's like the girl can't spell.
Trust me, yeah, I always try to do the same thing. Like
I said it last year to make sure I spell it correctly.
Right.
Okay, is it like from 5 to 7 or 5 until?
5 to 9.
Okay, 5 to 9 p.m.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this Friday. Yep.
Okay.
August 20th.
August 20th. Great. I'm sure Robin's going to be there because I know that you two are buddies here and business partners as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. I'll be there to see him shine in his new spot. I am so proud to see these young people getting into real estate and blowing up. That's awesome. It's awesome to see.
It is.
And
Congratulations, John. We are very proud of you and all of your accomplishments in a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like I'm getting cut off by the top of the screen.
It's fine. It's fine.
If you guys see me, I'm like, I feel like the heading is kind of, I don't really know how else to reset this.
Yeah.
Here, let me see if I can change this. Oh, that's making my head look a lot bigger though. That's okay. I don't want to take you guys off.
You're behind the banner from what I can see.
That's what I'm saying. This is like making you all look smaller, but I think
that's perfect. That's perfect.
It's better than my head like being halfway cut off. So go with this. Okay, so you can see it on the screen, correct?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the question. Yep, go ahead, John.
Yeah, so like if anybody is interested, so this open house is kind of just not like a general open house. It's pretty much targeted for like people that are thinking about getting in real estate or thinking about changing brokerages. We're there to provide information about EXP and the awesome opportunity. So like if you have an interest, definitely feel free to come through. We're going to have food and drinks as well. And I look forward to seeing you. And then what was the other question, Nancy?
Yeah, I was. So you kind of already answered it because I said, how did you repivot when the market opened? Well, you technically haven't opened your brokerage yet. So you kind of already answered it. But I know you've been in real estate for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So were you just kind of working under EXP or how did you? Okay.
No, so basically.
Explain your transition.
Okay. Yeah, so basically I got licensed in 2016. And I was with a boutique brokerage in Detroit. And then when I got my broker's license last year, then I ended up opening my own brokerage. And the beautiful thing about Michigan is that you can have multiple non-principal associate broker's license.
Okay.
So I actually still have my own brokerage, Cleare Realty Solutions, and I have a non-principal associate broker's license under EXP as well. So there are two separate licenses, and Michigan allows me to operate both, which is awesome because like as a real estate agent, like you can only be under one brokerage. The broker provides additional leverage because you can actually be under multiple brokerages if you so choose. So that's the beautiful thing about it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you weren't a broker at the time, how did you pivot with the closure and then the reopening? Because you were still a salesperson, whether you were a broker or not. So
Right. Yeah. So I was still a salesperson. So basically, it didn't affect like my team that much because I had already started like operating my business on a virtual level.
okay.
Actually, many of the properties that I sell, I actually never see in person. So I already started this years ago, as well as not even attending many closings. I just get the wire transfer when it closes. So I guess I was a little bit ahead of the game. So my business really didn't suffer that much, like when the, pandemic happened.
I see. Okay, great. Thank you, John, for answering that question.
Mhm.
This Saturday at our members only event, the topic of our mastermind group is actually digital solutions for realtors. And so I would love for you to talk about EXP because as far as I know, you'll be the only broker owner attending who has experience with EXP.
Okay.
So we would love for you to chat on that. So it doesn't have to be anything formal. Just be ready to talk about if anyone has questions about how to get started with EXP, because I know it's kind of like a multi-level marketing platform. So I just wanted you to be prepared to talk about it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, just for a couple minutes.
Okay.
Okay, well, Nicole Dietrich with Lake Trust Credit Union is just able to join us. I apologize that you weren't able to get on earlier, Nicole. I'm not sure what happened. But Nicole, we were just actually doing introductions, so please go ahead and feel free to introduce yourself.
Well, as Nancy shared, I'm Nicole Dietrich with Lake Trust Credit Union. I am the Business Development Manager for Lake Trust. Lake Trust actually has over 20 locations from lake to lake, has the name, but we do have a statewide charter. We are a credit union based in Brighton, Michigan, but we do have a heavy presence in the Detroit area. In fact, one of our leading locations is at Milwaukee and Woodward.
Okay, in Midtown.
In Midtown, yep.
Yeah, the former, it was a DTE credit union. You said that's what everybody knows by?
Yeah, in the metro area, a lot of people know us as DTE Employees Credit Union. So we're DTE State Employees Credit Union. Some people know us as Huron River, Father Kramer. So lots of iterations. We've been Lake Trust for a little over 10 years.
Okay. Yeah, and Nicole and Lake Trust is actually one of our commercial members or corporate members. So we're so glad that you're able to join us, Nicole. And you are actually one of the small business managers at Lake Trust, correct?
Yep. So I, like all of you, I'm sure, wear lots of hats.
Okay.
I am the business development manager. So really every day I work with entrepreneurs, helping them, it could be everything from launch to scale, to make connections to entities like Detroit Business Hub, which is a great resource that we refer to a lot. Just helping entrepreneurs any way we can be as successful as they can. We want to be the engine that really drives community well-being. And we honestly know that entrepreneurs and small business owners, micro business owners, they're the key to that. They're employing our members, they're employing the community, their employees are out in the community spending. So we really put a lot of time and effort behind entrepreneurs. My other hat is I also do a lot of financial well-being sessions. So being on a financial well-being panel, or we do a lot of new hire orientations. So do a lot of fun things.
Yeah, and you all were actually one of our first corporate members. Nicole, we've already been on the podcast a couple of times, done some DBHG trainings with us for our certification program. But tell us, so we already kind of have the background with your story about how businesses were affected by COVID. You were also part of the podcast last June, and this is kind of the sequel podcast. Tell us how have a lot of businesses been doing since the reopening on June 22nd?
Well, I think it's been a crazy journey, right? For the business owners. So there was a lot of aid early on And so there was a lot of assistance. That assistance actually has started to wane a little bit. You can still find grants. We have a great microloan product. So there is still aid out there. The biggest hurdle that most people are fighting right now is staffing.
Okay.
So that is obviously a huge one. But I think what you're starting to see is, I do feel like, Nancy, you and I have talked about this a couple times. The word pivot is really overused. But
that's the problem.
But it's what inspires me most. And part of what I left out of my intro that I did see that you had used, I'm married to a serial entrepreneur. So day and night, I hear all about it. But it's what is at the core of entrepreneurs, right? Is truly pivoting is not new to entrepreneurs. So a lot of micro businesses, small businesses, they're small enough so they can turn quickly and modify quickly. So we were able to see businesses, once they did get a little bit of assistance and once things started reopening, that they really were able to either tap into a market that wasn't there before. Maybe their online presence was stronger. They found sort of a niche market. We saw a lot of, in Midtown, I think is a great example for those of you that are familiar. There's a lot of businesses that said, to heck with the pandemic, we're moving forward. And they did that. Everything was a little delayed, but they're being rewarded now. And I think you're seeing a lot of individuals go from launch to sustain and hold on to now scale as they're coming out of the pandemic.
Okay. All right. And anyone, so Nicole, you missed John and Robin's intro. They're both broker owners for real estate. So we're going to be kind of focusing more on real estate with the two of them on the show. So you can kind of fill in for other businesses. And the two of you feel free to jump into on any of these questions, but I wanted Nicole to answer this one first. What are current business trends in today's Metro Detroit market? What are some of the business trends that you've been seeing?
It hasn't changed a lot. You'll see kind of the restaurant, specialized food is still, I think you're seeing a lot of it. I think you are seeing retail, true, maybe not even brick and mortar, but people realizing they're not needing a brick and mortar space, that they can launch online boutiques. And then I think through COVID and the pandemic, a lot of needs were identified. Like so many times you thought, if I only had X, then I could do this. And so I think you're seeing a lot of businesses kind of fill in some of these gaps where there was a miss. You're seeing a lot of delivery options. There was a business that I was just talking to who, construction is hot right now and things are tight. So he's creating a business where he's going to bring construction supplies to the job site, almost like a food delivery truck, but he's delivering construction supplies. So I think you're seeing a lot of shift in that. But the food service and restaurant specialty food seems to be where a lot of the activity is.
Okay. And Robin and John, can you answer how has the commercial market changed with the reopening of Michigan? Do you think it's gotten better? Has it flattened? What do you think about what's going on the commercial side with businesses and real estate?
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and let John. As far as commercial, that's more of John's speed. Whenever I have a lot of commercial business, I ship it over to John. That's another one of the trends that I think people are learning, and maybe Nicole can speak to that. Is that what we're learning how to do is to leverage each other's businesses. So instead of me trying to be everything, if I see that somebody specializes in something, I go ahead and ship it to them, and then we just do a referral, and there you go. So the business, what we're managing to do is keep everybody fed. And I think that's something that in real estate, we always kind of push that, is that, we make sure that we make everybody get a piece of something, get a piece of the pie. So that's one of the things we do. So whenever I do commercial, especially if I'm dealing with off-market commercial, something like that, automatically like, hey, John, you want to take this or whatever? Can you do this or whatever? And he'll say, okay, yeah, Rob, I'll take it. You know, he'll let me know if it's worth doing or whatever. He'll go and take it and we work it out like that. I specialize more on the luxury side and the residential or luxury side. So that product of real estate has actually was wonderful. I mean, I couldn't believe how well we were doing. In 2020, people were actually buying and selling houses. I was like, shut up, this is something different here. You know, it's like, wow. But prices, the market trend is, you know, it's definitely a seller's market, but it's also a great time for buyers because the banks are giving great interest rates. So that's why you were getting all the congestion there, because where, you know, a 4% or a 3.8% interest rate is unheard of in a good market. So you didn't have enough inventory to supply the people who wanted to purchase the home. So of course that caused the influx and made it a seller market. And then sellers start saying, okay, well, I can get more than this, and you know, I can get more than what my house is actually would normally be worth. The good thing about it is that the appraisers also went along with that. So a lot of appraisers were, as we could see, they were actually appraising these homes at those numbers. So it really, in the long run, from an economic standpoint, it actually brought up a lot of neighborhoods. So a lot of neighborhoods that was kind of staggering before pre-COVID or right before, it's kind of staggering at a kind of a normal baseline number. Now you see those numbers going up to almost the twos. So it's really a great time right now. Houses have a lot more equity in them. So, you know, to me, the market is just super duper. It's good. It's a good market. It's beginning to stabilize a little bit. So if you want to jump in and get your house sold, then you definitely need to do that because it's beginning to kind of cool down. But I don't really think it's going to be this. We don't see it. Other economists, according to Bloomberg, we don't really see where it's going to even end because we have so many people who still want to buy and it's still not enough inventory. So I think we're in a good market trend right now.
Yeah, and one thing that Nicole had mentioned when she was on the podcast last is that with real estate, it varies region by region. I mean, you really have to go down to city by city. So we can't always go by what's going on in the national news because the Detroit market, you know, it's kind of has its own identity. So we really can't make comparisons to other cities because there's no other city like Detroit. I mean, you have investors from all over the world during the crash, the real estate market crash in 2008, 2009. They literally were buying from all over the world, as me and Robin talked about. So, John, tell us how things look on the commercial side. What are some of the commercial trends that you're seeing right now?
Yeah, so actually right now I'm working on multiple like apartment building sales, actually in multiple states. And just like Robin said, I mean, the market is definitely hot. It is still low inventory, even though, you know, a lot of the rent rolls are not as great as they were in the past. It doesn't really matter to the investors because they're still looking for that long-term cash flow. So the prices are still, you know, pretty competitive. So I actually have, you know, like buildings for sale, and some are vacant, some are fully occupied, and you know, the market is still hot right now. So, you know, like we actually have student housing, you know, for sale as well.
So you're mostly speaking of commercial residential. What about business districts? Do you think those are hot as well? What's your experience with that?
Business districts, I'm not sure, to be honest.
You don't really focus that much on it. Nicole, do you have any input? I'm just kind of curious because is this a good time for people to be purchasing, you know, business real estate or business leases? Because we keep hearing all of this like stay at home, you know, and I just kind of wanted to know what you think about businesses going out and getting commercial real estate. Is that market hot as well?
So I think two things came to my mind. John had mentioned the multifamily. Our commercial team, we are seeing a lot of activity and traction and new multifamily builds. And it's not, everybody knows sort of the surrounding Detroit zip codes. We need some of that inventory. But it's when you stretch out, because like I said, Lake Trust is statewide. So when you stretch out, we're seeing activity in that market. So because I work with a lot of micro businesses, small businesses, what I see is that the inventory is still pretty few and far between on hot locations and good, maybe like white box spaces. And so a lot of, there's been a couple businesses that were like, I wasn't ready to pull the trigger on this, but this property came open and I wanted in this space for a long time, so I'm doing it. So I think that what you're seeing is in the price point, the ready like white box spaces, John might be able to speak to it, but I don't think in a lot of areas there's a lot out there. For like, when you think of the micro businesses, the small ones that want to walk in with just a couple employees.
Okay.
It's not really, if you're talking about like the business, commercial business, like the ones that's downtown, things of that nature. Yeah, there's not a lot of those, and the shortage still there. And the properties that are there, they're kind of expensive. But the good thing about it is that a lot of the businesses that may have left during the pandemic, they may have left midterm in a lease. So if you like see a spot you want and now it's open, it's always good to go and ask that agent, find out who the agent is that's handling it, because you can even take up an old lease where it stopped off at and maybe even negotiate getting that lease cheaper. So this is the perfect time for you now, because there's a lot of businesses that they no longer need to be in a brick and mortar like Nicole was saying. So a lot of those leases may have been broken, or a lot of people may have moved out and just didn't renew. So this is the perfect time to go and say, hey, I really need a spot. Is there something that we can work out or whatever? Because what a commercial, as far as commercial retail, what they don't want to do is have that business open and it's just that spot is just available and nobody's renting. So if I can get somebody in there, even if it's not at my peak, that'd be fine. I'll go work with that until that person can get up to speed and get to where they need to be. Now, another thing you may want to talk about, one of the new hot trends, and I was actually, when my business was in Detroit, I actually moved during the pandemic. My business is now in Birmingham. But one of the great things, if you don't have the money to afford like one of the really nice storefront white boxes, what you can do is go to WeWork. WeWork is awesome. It's half the price. They have all different sizes of offices. Usually with those offices, everything come with it. So if you have conference rooms, you have digital, you have everything you need, like your printers, your scanners, you have everything that you need. You even have the front desk. You have somebody who answers the phone. If you're not there, they take your mail for your business. You have keys. You can come in whenever you want, and you can have business meetings whenever you like. Those buildings are really nice because you can get into one of those for fairly cheap. I think when I was there, because I'm also with Quicken, with Rock Financial, we got a discount. But I mean, like one of the cheapest ones, even without the discount, was like $750. So you can literally $750 a month. You can literally go into WeWork, have a nice setup, and have everything you need to start your office. You just bring in your computer and you can have people there for $750 to start off, and it goes up from there. And you had the camaraderie. You also had the networking, and you had everything you needed right there. So we literally bounced and worked off of each other. So it's really a great environment. It's good and cheap, and it's something that if you're really getting started and new and you need to have something, you're not quite ready for that whole release thing or taking over a lease or something like that, you can look into doing something like that and move into one of those buildings. And that would be a good start for you.
Yeah. Our shared office space corporate partner is actually in Cabizo. But shared office spaces are a good idea for starting businesses and incubators. Nicole, when do you think is a good time for a new business to pull the trigger and say, yes, I'm ready to move into a commercial space?
Nancy, I'm going to get you on another one of my vague answers. I think it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a silver bullet magic. I think I'm a big advocate for working with Detroit Business Hub, SBDC, working with somebody, make sure you have a solid business plan, make sure you have cash flowed it out, you forecasted, you have all of that in line. before you go in. Now, some of the businesses that I was referring to that were like, I wasn't quite ready. One had an existing location somewhere else, and across town, this great space came up a little earlier than they thought, but they had already had the business plan for this to work. So I think you have to really make sure that you're going to be able to make it, and you're going to be able to be successful and have a good roadmap. So I would say every business really needs to work with some type of business coach to make sure they're ready to do that.
John and Robin, how did you know it was time for you to actually get your own brick and mortar space?
Yeah, so basically, now that I fully understand the question, so that's actually what we did. Us as like investors and real estate agents, like we're very in tune with the market, and when everybody else is running this way, we sometimes run this way. And basically we seized the opportunity while office space was cheap. And we actually got a really good deal on our office. And that's why we decided back in, I believe, May or so actually it was April of this year, when we first signed the lease and got it. And we got it for a really good deal. We did check out multiple other locations, and, like owners at the time were willing to offer us discounted rates because nobody wanted to be in the office at that time. So definitely now is definitely the time, find you some office space if that's the direction that you would like to head, because owners are still offering discounted rates. And, like we actually negotiated, like our lease, with favorable terms that we'll be happy with for years to come.
Sounds good. Robin, how about you?
Same thing. I just I started with my business as far as a brick and mortar. At first I was at home, and so I said, you know what, I'm ready to go get out of here. And so, like I said, that opportunity came when I, once I became one of the agents for Quicken Loans. Once I became one of those real estate agents for them, that opportunity came with like, hey, we work across the street. Why don't you move your whole thing out there and you'll be right there, which was perfect because I can go right across the street. And, because I was in 1001, I can go right across the street and do my closings. I mean, it was great. And then we can go to park and have drinks after it, to celebrate. So, I mean, it just all kind of worked out because everything was right there and right there centrally located. So, you can start off small. I mean, now they actually have like a Remax that's in there. That's about 20 different agents is in there now that they have all the setup for about 20 different agents with Remax. I mean, with all the bigger ones. I mean, and they're all over all these shared spaces. I think people really ought to take advantage of those if you're not quite ready to get into the lease. If a lease by yourself, a brick and mortar can be a little taxing if it's just you by yourself. I think is one of the things that John and his group did is they all came together and they decided, hey, we're going to do this all together. We're going to split all that. And that's one of the things I think COVID kind of taught everybody is that we can kind of lock arms, like I was saying before, and get a lot more done together than we can if we just have all these little separate entities and everybody kind of struggling. Why do that when we can come together and work together and just we share all this expense, and that makes it a lot easier on the business as a whole. But if you can't do that, if you don't have people you can work with, I tell people, try these, like where you're at, Nancy, you guys share spaces. Try those shared spaces. Those are nice places, and they're great for businesses.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a great point, Robin. You said you started at home and you were ready to get out of your house. Well, when you're ready to collaborate with other realtors or other business owners, you might not necessarily want everybody coming into your house either. So sometimes that's a good time where it's time to pivot and make a move and say, okay, it's time for me to get a commercial space or at least a shared office space where when I want to meet with clients or, in our case, the podcast or events, I have a place for them to go besides them just come into my house. So it does give you a very professional image. You can also rent addresses. So, for instance, Incubizo allows you to use their address for a nominal fee on a monthly basis so that you have a professional place for your mail to come to. So there's a lot of different options that new business owners have and incubators have. So they're not just feeling like oh, I'm doing it for, I don't want to be at home, but I can't afford a brick and mortar yet. So there's a lot of different options in between. So you can come up with what's feasible for you.
I think what also has been happening, and John maybe sees this too, is let's say you had a long-term lease or you own the space. People kind of took a pause and were saying, how can I refresh this space or rework this space to either, change maybe my storefront or, gosh, what if I have all this space here? What if I created office space that I could rent out? Or what if I had better signage? Or what if I purchased, what if I purchased some tables outside? I've never had seating outside. So we are even now starting to see more and more of that where people have paused. And it's like we're doing with our houses. I'm sure they see this a lot. You're seeing a lot of refinances or, cash out refinances because we're here anyways. We might as well make it pretty and enjoy it. So with our microloan, we're actually seeing a lot of people take, maybe I need a new pizza oven, or maybe I just want a line of credit because I want to, refurbish some things. So I think you're seeing both things, but you are seeing people get more creative because the co-working space, if you're in this great big office space and now you're maybe whatever it is, you're a little less, you're a little behind. What if you invited other people in? Because you can have co-working spaces. It doesn't have to be a great big space. It could be 2 or 3 where you're, you even see salons do that, where now they're inviting nail techs or some of the eyebrow folks in where they wouldn't maybe have done that before.
Yeah, that's one of our key words is collaboration. That's a 2020 buzzword in addition to pivot is collaboration.
That's right.
So collaborating is a positive thing. I mean, that's one thing that makes DBHG a lot stronger than just having like one business coach. You can select from several different business coaches. You don't have to just go with one. You could just come to the event. So we offer a lot of different options. And I think that's something else that your customers want now. They want options. They don't just want to kind of be pigeonholed into one thing either. So it's nice that you're able to give your customers and clients options as well. Okay, next question. What would you have done differently since the initial COVID-19 outbreak if you had something that you could go back and change? Anybody can jump in.
I'll start from the late perspective. So when we started to see things shut down, and Nancy, that I work with lots and lots and lots of businesses, and we were a resource for several of not just our members, but really our partners, because our mission is to help was grants. So in the beginning, we were sort of like, there's a grant here and there's a grant here. We finally did, but we were a little slow to get like a system to go back and see who has grants, when are they having grants, and because a lot of them weren't just COVID related. Certainly several of them were, but there's a lot of annual grants out there that come, every year. And so, we learned eventually instead of doing the work over and over and over again. But I think now we as an organization do a much better job of organizing the support that's out there for our network.
Okay, that's good. And then John and Robert, I know that you two are both pretty digital already, but is there anything that you would have changed since the initial COVID-19 outbreak, looking back now for a year?
I'm more digital now than I ever been.
Okay.
I am not, and John will tell you, I'm always calling him, what is wrong with this computer? It's doing the most.
Well, that was my thing today. I have a loaner computer, and so nothing was loaded, and I couldn't get in. And I was like, who do I call for this? I'm going to start calling John too now.
Exactly.
A whole lot of sticky business with this computer, because that was the one thing I did. I said, I'm going to upgrade my computer stuff. And wow, did I upgrade it? I still, there's stuff on this computer I still don't know what to do with, but I got it. That's all that counts. Yeah, I got it. So, but that's something I think even now I'm going to push more, is to get more into that digital age of it, get more into the computer piece of it, get more into that, because there's a lot more you can do. It's a lot of different programs and stuff that that we both had noticed during the pandemic, that it's like, oh yeah, this program does this, and so it's a lot of things out there to make your life easier. I don't know. I know Nicole maybe didn't hear, but John pretty much do his whole off market business online. He may see it or may not. And that's like, to me, I'm like, oh, that's dope, because I can never do that because I have to show to that level. But at the same time, to be able to know that that's something that you can go into, especially into COVID, where people couldn't even, at one point, we couldn't even show houses. So we were kind of like,
everything was closed. How did you guys close a house when you couldn't go to a title company? The title companies are closed. Like the state was shut down.
Yeah, email closings.
Okay.
Virtual closing. Yeah.
How did you do? I do have a question. How did the buyers adapt to like virtual tours? The virtual showings.
I didn't never have a problem with it, because pre-COVID, I was selling to people out of state and even out of country. And I would just, when I had my open house, I would just take my FaceTime on my Apple and just go through and just show them. And literally, that's how I sold a lot of houses. I mean, because people can't always come. When I was selling Brush Park, a lot of times we had the rendering, but I would do like a video and show how all the different aspects of the house, of the units that you could buy, and just kind of talk about those units and, show them the renderings and show them how it would look. So it's a lot of things you have to kind of come up with when you can't go show. But thank God I was kind of doing that before. So it was okay. I'll just FaceTime people, say, hey, I'm gonna walk through, I'm gonna call you in like 20 minutes, and then we're gonna walk through the house. And they was like, wow, this is nice. And it was great. And you put some great pictures with it and send everything to them. Most people can kind of pretty much make a decision on what they want.
Yeah, those digital tours actually came out before COVID, but they became a necessity at the time that COVID hit. So I guess people are buying. That's a new way to buy houses now. You just look at a video and look at how much time you save. Like John said, he's doing deals out of state. I mean, nobody wants to have to get on a plane for everything you're trying to close. It's so time consuming. It's also a lot more cost effective to do things online.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I literally sold a house off the Detroit golf course.
That's hilarious.
I mean, they were excited. I mean, it's just, I tell people the pictures on MLS may be a little bit, they got a lot of pixels. So you really do need to go try to see it. But one thing about FaceTime, what you see is what it is. All right. So it's very little distortion. So if you can actually get that and just go slow and just talk all the way through and show them, and they'll tell you, oh, can you go back to the bedroom, or can you open the drawers, and do they have soft touch? Can we put this side? And if you're literally just walking them through, and most people can make a decision. If they don't want to get on that plane, they don't have time. I have a lot of people that live somewhere else, work somewhere else. They don't have time to fly in. So
John, is there anything you would have changed differently? It sounds like you're the IT guru to come to. IT problems. So it sounds like you were almost totally virtually online anyway.
Right.
Are there any changes you would have made?
I mean, so definitely like Nicole was talking about. So the beautiful thing about this whole ordeal, I guess, because I always try to like look at the positive out of it, is that it did make you more aware of the grant and like additional funding opportunities that like is out there. And Robin and myself, like I would call her like in the middle of the night, hey, get up, and like go apply for this grant. And like we were just on it, back to back every week, and I just wish that I was more like cognizant of like all these grants and like funding opportunities, years ago for the business, not just, purchasing real estate. So I am, glad that We have had success, obtaining grants. Like I actually got a grant from PayPal as well last year. Yeah. So, like that is definitely one thing that, that I would change is start applying for grants early. It's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, and also crowd funds. Lake Trust, they had a crowd fund last year. They're gonna have another one this year. That's what Nicole tells me anyway. But I was like, so we started the crowd fund. I'm like, okay, so I was asking Nicole, when do we have to pay this crowd fund money back? She's like, well, it works like a grant. You don't have to pay it back as long as you raise the funds. I'm like, are you serious? This is like $1,200. We don't have to pay this back. I was so ecstatic. We don't need another deal. It's just so exciting. You're like, this is free money. And like you said, it's available to whoever apply, as long as they meet the qualifications. But it's just really, it's so refreshing that, because you always hear about these low interest loans, but it's like, I'd rather get the money for free and not have to worry about paying the bill back.
Shoot, and like PayPal even like sweetened the deal, because there was actually a round 2 grant, which wasn't like in the initial offering. So they ended up sending like more money in 2021. So that was amazing. Yeah.
Yep. Same with Lake Trust. It was great.
They're out there. You just have to, you have to find them. And, like you said, you really, a lot of times they launch at midnight and they're already, by 12:30, they might be at capacity. So you really do have to watch the launch dates and times.
So Nicole, can I ask you a quick question? What do you think about getting a grant writer? Somebody that can do those for you, if you can.
Well, they're hard to find right now. So I think, again, I'm going to go back to, for some businesses and some entities, it makes complete sense. Do I think a micro business or maybe a realtor that just has 1 or 2 I don't know if a grant writer would make sense, because there's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of workshops. We did a grant writing workshop. Michigan Women Forward usually pretty consistently does grant writing workshops. And for the small, when I say small, but like for the applications for a lot of the grants or different things that came out, if you read the secret is read the question and answer in detail, because just like it's people that are selling their homes or their businesses, they're their best advocate, and they have to really sell it and make a connection. And so that's really the secret to filling those applications out, is making a connection with the reader when you're filling it out. And you have to fill it out completely. It's not just like 1-word answers or 1-number answers. So it's a lot of them are pretty, once you get into it. And actually, Nancy, I think it might be a piece of advice I've borrowed from you. I'm not going to say stole, I'll say borrow. Like, once you have the information, most questions are pretty similar. You save that somewhere, and so then you already have it. So I think for some entities, a grant writer is important, and it's will help. But I think, again, when you look at the cost analysis of it, it could be very tough for a micro business that is really trying to, again, launch or scale.
Yeah, you can always hire them on an as-to-need basis, and that's actually a really good recommendation, Robin, for DBHG, because that's definitely a resource that we would love to offer our members. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And that way they're not just kind of tied to one company, but on an as-to-need basis. I think that's an excellent idea, because we want the business owners out there doing what they do best. And if grant writing is really not your thing, it's going to take you 2 or 3 times longer as it would for someone who does this every day, all day long. So, so that is a really good point. Okay.
Sometimes I don't want to scare people away from like some of the grants, like some of the Pure Michigan grants. It wasn't, some grants are really intimidating when you're looking, you have to fill out a lot, but a lot of the grants that are coming out now, and I think even the PayPal one was really a plug and play of about 12 questions, or like even Nancy, like ours, it was about a plug and play. So some of those you probably could, oftentimes the business owner, more than others, but I do agree when you get into the big ones, or you're, maybe a not-for-profit, then you really do need to look at getting the help.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that every career and profession, they all have their own language. And I think, we ran into this with the PPP program where a lot, especially disadvantaged business owners, they couldn't understand the language to answer the questions. So that was a huge hurdle that some African American business owners had. And so as a result of that, some of them got discouraged from even completing the application. So that's part of it too, is just understanding the lingo and the language. So that's why I would, I said that's a great idea for us to get someone in place for that. So I will get on that. That'll be one of my next assignments. So as we're wrapping up, what would you like to share to potential business owners who are contemplating starting a business in today's climate? Anyone can jump in. Nicole, would you like to go first?
I can.
I did send you guys these questions.
No, I know. So that's the one that.
Sorry, Nancy.
Nancy shared that we've done a couple of these, and I'm always, I feel like the queen of the non-answer. I'm going to give you another non-answer, and this is honest to goodness. It's not because I'm on with Detroit Business Hub, but truthfully, I think it's we've talked about it here. It's collaboration, it's network. You're not going to, in today's world, you're not going to do it on your own. You have to have a strong network. You have to have a strong backing. I'm a huge advocate of a business coach, and wherever you land, I really think you need somebody to bounce ideas off of that has maybe, blazed that trail before, because you just sometimes don't know what you don't know. And like with grant writing, right? Like you just simply don't know how to answer those questions if you don't know. So I'm a big advocate of building a strong network, of getting a business coach. And if the time is right and you've mapped it out, sometimes you just have to go for it, but I think you want to make sure that you're going to be able to sustain and that you have done your business plan, at least a small one. You have a cash analysis. You understand the cash flow, money going in versus money going out. That's sometimes right there what helps people decide, do I stay virtual or do I do brick and mortar, is just that cash flow. So understanding some of that. And Nancy, I know that you help them with all of that. So that's why I think a coach is so helpful, or somebody that's gone out on their own and they can be mentored by John. I just think a mentor, a coach, a network is so important. So there's my non-answer for you.
No, you're plugging DBHG, so that's totally fine.
Yeah.
We accept your answer. Well, that is all the time that we have for today. We are almost done with that webinar. I just wanted to remind everyone that since that webinar from last year has aired, that I am currently commercially licensed. So if you are interested in commercial real estate, feel free to contact me. You can email me at nancy.o'neal, ONEALE, @exprealty.com. You can always look me up at dbhg.org, and we are happy to assist you. Oh, there's my phone right there. Until Thursday, we look forward to seeing everyone at that time. You can also see the rest of this, you can see the rest of this webinar on our YouTube channel at Nancy O'Neal DBHG. Bye, everybody. See you Thursday.